European and world champion. That was a dream. That kid who said that I was going to be world champion, I actually did that. Wow, that is actually me.
It could have killed you.
Could have killed me.
It could have left you paralysed.
Yep. She said she heard screaming at the front, and she said mother's instinct, she just knew.
In this episode of Origins, we meet Jordan Thomas, a former karate European and world champion. In his 30 years, he's been through it all. He's even escaped death. But despite his 2020 Olympic dream not coming true, he's on a new path. So we've come to GB Taekwondo HQ here in Manchester, England, to meet the champ. And he's now transitioning from karate to Taekwondo. He's got some story to tell, and he's going to reveal all in this episode of PabsMedia Origins.
So Jordan, welcome to Origins. It's been a long time coming, this hasn't it really?
Too long. How long have we been planning for?
Well, I was only actually thinking about this the other day. Is it about 2 years, 18 months, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just before lockdown we met.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we've just been in contact since then. So
we've been in contact, but not much else. I'll be honest
exactly.
with you. It's one of those things.
Unfortunately,
It's one of those
No one
things.
could predict a pandemic, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You know, a lot has happened to you in that time. Just tell us a little bit about what's been going on with you in the background over this, what is pandemic period, I suppose you could call it.
Yeah, well, when the pandemic hit, I was on the verge of going, obviously, to the Olympic Qualification tournament. So I had to keep fit inside, in lockdown. I had a watt bike inside, I had dumbbells, then coach changes. And then, obviously, when it started opening up again, went to the Olympic Qualification, lost and a very important fight at the Olympic qualification, which didn't see me go through to the Olympics, unfortunately. And now I'm making a transition to GB Taekwondo.
When you look at kind of that transition, it's a transition of sorts for you. It's a transition of sport.
Yeah.
But it's not a change of environment for you.
No,
you're still in Manchester. You're still at GB Taekwondo HQ.
Correct.
Has that made it a little bit easier?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very familiar environment. It's home. It's still the same mindset. It's the same goal. I've just got how I kind of approach it. You know, I'm a beginner at everything. So actually, you know, what's the challenge? You know, without a challenge, there's no growth. I'm here at GB Taekwondo, learning Taekwondo, but also trying to do it at the top level, which I am at elite level.
You were karate in this building previously. Now you've effectively got, you know, Jay Jones, Latela Mohammed, Bianca Walkden, all on your team now.
Yeah.
How good does that feel for you to have those sorts of teammates around you?
You see, the names that you've just mentioned, they're good friends of mine anyways. They have always been teammates. But to travel with them now and to compete with them, it just makes us even closer. And to have, you know, them as a benchmark, they've shown the way, they've shown how it can be done, and hopefully I'll be able to join them.
You've been in this building for a while now. How did that come about? How did you and karate end up coming to Manchester, to this place?
Well, I was a world champion, world game silver medalist, European champion, and UK Sport approached me, with lottery funding, and they said, Taekwondo will look after you if you're willing to go to Manchester. And that's how I found myself here, training full time. Going from a part-time to full-time environment to train for the Olympic dream.
Is that something that would happen ordinarily if you were gifted in karate, say, for example? Would you automatically make that transition to this building?
No. Taekwondo already had a proven track record. They already had gold medals at Rio, at London. So they've proven their champion environment. So they said, right, okay, where can we put him? Let's put him in a champion's environment. And that's how I fell here.
What was that like for you, making that move from Luton, being a Luton boy, to come up north to Manchester?
No, it was very difficult, just leaving all the family behind. I have a massive family. Walking through the mall, you know, I'm bumping into relatives. My partners still don't know who they are. You know, like it's a very close community, and I've got all my close friends there as well. Manchester has created something that it's given me opportunity. So I came up here, I was lottery funded. I was able to, you know, not just do a karate career, an athlete career. I was allowed to expand and actually create a lifestyle and a life for me. Because as long as I'm okay, then this will be okay. And that's the emphasis on that. So UK Sport are very good at doing that. So I've managed to buy up here. So I'm a homeowner, which is incredible. I'm very close with the athletes here too. So yeah, no, I've created a nice life in Manchester too. I love the city. I love food. You know, so Manchester is probably the home of food, right? So
I was just going to say, what would you say is the best part about being in Manchester now for you?
Yeah, 100% is food. Except obviously training and that, but yeah, no, it's a nice environment. I've got, like I say, good friends. I like to socialise around food. It's developmental as well, so it's a very up and coming city as well. Once I got that letter to say, Jordan, you're in, then I was like, is Paris on the cards? Is Paris on the cards? I'm learning something new. Also, I'm bringing something new, bringing a different style, and also I have the backing of GB Taekwondo, a great team, and you know, I've got a good coach, got good training partners. Who knows where it can go?
Jordan, tell me about the transition to Taekwondo. First of all, how did all that come about? Because you've been so ingrained in karate for many years.
Yeah, well, obviously when the Olympic dream got taken away from me, I got given 3 months. Then it was a time for me to then go and find something else, find another career, because I wouldn't have been a fully funded athlete anymore. If you speak to my partner, it's funny, I was so grumpy, you know, moping around the house. I've gone from training nearly 2 to 3 times a day to then training 2 to 3 times a week. You know, it's like, and then trying to find me at the same time, you know, which was very, very difficult. So then what happened was, we was driving back to Luton and my partner rang up a phone and was like, hang on, GB are saying there's trials going on. Do you reckon you can do that? I was like, yeah, I reckon I could do that. She was like, I'm signing you up. Like, I think she's just had enough of me by then. You know what I mean?
I bet, yeah, you moping around the house.
Yeah. I'm signing you up. Paying no mind to it. I think about 2 weeks later, I was here on trial, having a fight, an introduction. The performance director said, "Are you serious about this?" And you see the other coaches like, "Are you serious about this?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm serious." Because if it wasn't this, and I was looking at MMA. For me, it was just about competing and fighting. That's what I love. I love high performance. And then I got invited back to a 3-day camp with fights at the end.
So you're doing something right then?
I was doing something right. I kind of knew I could do it, just from a mindset point of view. I know my ability. I know I can adapt. Yeah, I didn't know any of the rules. I still don't know half of the rules.
I was just going to say, how's it going? Because
yeah,
you know, as I say, you've been doing karate since you were knee high. So
yeah,
to come
the amount of apologies I've had to say to my training partners. Sorry, I shouldn't have punched you in the face. Oh, sorry, I slapped you.
I was just going to say, sweeping is a get out, isn't it? For a lot of
exactly.
Karate fighters.
But that's all part of the development. Like on that camp, it was just about getting through the training. And performing on the fights and showing that I have potential and I can bring something. And once I got that letter to say, Jordan, you're in, then I was like, is Paris on the cards? Is Paris on the cards? I'm learning something new. Also, I'm bringing something new, bringing a different style, and also I have the backing of GB Taekwondo, a great team, and I've got a good coach, got good training partners. Who knows where it can go? You may see me in Paris. It is. With that break I've had between karate and taekwondo, mindset-wise, I had to go through something. I had to find me, and I just focus on being the best me every single day. And as long as I be the best me every day, my lifestyle, is what carries me through. I will never give that up for anybody. I'm going to live my life and how I want to live my life, and me living my life will help others.
And the thing is, you're clearly enjoying what you're doing now. One of the things that, as you were talking there, what are the major differences for you from karate to taekwondo?
The major differences is the rules. Movement, for example, grabbing, throwing, you can't do that. The volume of kicking in taekwondo is just next level. So building up the endurance in the legs to be able to execute what you want to execute is different. So it's about using my legs as my arms, really. Replacing that, I have to think with my legs, and just changing that mentality. I'm just going to go and do what I need to do, standard.
In that sense then, what are your expectations? Because I know you're somebody of great expectations of yourself, and you have great ambition. For you, where do you think this can go now?
Anywhere. This is the great thing about high performance. As long as I perform, as long as I be the best person that I can be, the results will take care of itself. I'm coming from a world champion background. I'm coming from an environment where my dad was a world champion and the people around them were world champions. People I work with, I work with a charity called Inspire You, and you got world champions in there too. Uncle and aunties, world champions. As long as you focus on yourself, being the best person, bringing your best, doing your best, applying what you need to do, the jobs, that's how you win titles.
Let's talk about the delay in what happened in the build-up to the Olympics, because having spoken to you for the last couple of years, your dream was to get to the Olympics with
100%,
karate.
yeah.
When we first met, you were literally about a month away from going for the qualifiers.
Sure.
What changed, you think, for you in that 12-month period? Because it was so close for you in the end, wasn't it, to get to
it was so
Tokyo.
Close. It was so close. That 12 months was about getting through. It was about turning up to training when there was nothing going on. There was no goal in sight. You didn't know when you was coming out. It was very mentally challenging to get through. I just had to make sure that I was in the best position to go for that Olympic dreams. And like you said, I was literally the last 2 seconds of my fight, I received a head kick.
And it's all over, isn't it, in that split
all
second?
All over. You got 2 seconds wasn't enough to get it back. We saw it happen in the Olympics. We saw it happen at top level in Taekwondo. It's just sport. It was just my turn at that time. And it's one of those, it's just, what, am I going to let that moment define who I am? No, because you take my medals away from me, I'm still Jordan Thomas. That's it, straight up. It was Jordan Thomas who won their medals. So, yeah, that's all I can do.
But when you won the title in 2016, I'm sure there was a number of moments like that which could have happened, but didn't. Yeah. Because of the nature of the sport, because it is about moments.
Yeah, it's about moments to moments. Great moments, disappointing, but moments that are nerve-wracking moments. Like I said, I've come back in the last second, and that's a great moment for me. Yeah. So maybe it's karma, maybe it's karma.
In that qualifying campaign, you had to come up against your own dad.
The first round.
Exactly.
I think there was 80 people in the category.
But let's put some background to this. We'll talk about your karate journey and the journey to the World Championship. But your dad was your coach when you actually did that. Your dad is your dad.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, to go to one of the biggest moments of your career, which is the Olympic Games in the sport which you love and your family's legacy, in the first round, you're pit against an athlete who is coached by your dad.
Yep.
What goes through your mind then?
Well, let's say it was a big moment for him as well. I'm his son, right? So he's eager to see how I get on as well. But we could never have put that down on paper. The only person who said that could happen was my granddad a day before. Right? I don't know how.
He knew everything.
He knew.
The oracle.
Knew. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. As soon as I saw the draw, I freaked out. Went crazy. I didn't know what to do. Rang my coach. He's scared. He's freaking out now because he knows that my head is everywhere. I was working with Steve Peters, Chimp Paradox, and I rang him. I said, Steve, you wouldn't believe it. Who do you think I have first round? Hong Kong. Who's coaching Hong Kong? My dad. And you know what he said to me?
Cool.
Does the job change? No. And he's real with me, right?
Yes,
he's real with me. Like he checked me hard. He's like, does the job change? No. Does tomorrow change? No. Can you control what happens next? No. Okay, what can you do right now? Go sleep. Do you know what I mean? Like, go sleep.
But were you able to go to sleep? Were you able to switch that off?
Went down into the lobby, me and my dad crossed paths, and we just gave each other a hug and said, we both got to do a job. That's it. I did get a good night's sleep. The fact that I got a lot of worrying, I gave myself like 5 minutes of worrying. And there's nothing else to worry about then, is there? We just gave you 5 minutes to worry about. What else have I got to worry about? May as well worry about that. I can worry about that tomorrow. In fact, I'll give you 5 minutes tomorrow and you can worry about it then. So yeah, that's how I coped. I had a good night's sleep. And then I didn't speak to my dad in the warm-up area. I didn't speak to him that morning.
That's harsh for somebody who've had such a good relationship. And I'm not saying it's something you've got to do. It's that winning mentality, isn't it?
You know what, in the warm-up area, I remember looking up and I see him coaching his athlete. And I'm like, yeah, that move would beat me. Yeah, that move would get me. Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm looking up, I'm thinking, oh, hang on, he's actually coaching this athlete to beat me, right?
Yeah, sure.
I was like, right, okay. And there's a moment, right, where we walk out and we're standing side by side, and you've got the coaches behind us. And you know when you sense that, I sense that my dad is there, right? I just gave him the cold shoulder. It's just like, okay, cold shoulder, I ain't speaking to you. When we step onto the mat, it's time to do a job. It's time for war. And that's something that was built into me by him. And actually, you know, it goes back that far. I did beat him though. I did beat the guy. You know, and the thing is, I had a good relationship with the guy as well. But, you know, when you fight your friends, business is business.
That match went the way you wanted it to, but further down the line, you weren't able to qualify. And having spoken to you and messaged you on social media, you know, in the build-up to that, did it feel as though your life was building to that moment of going to the Olympics? And does it still hurt that didn't happen?
If I doubted that I was going to get to the Olympics, why would I be even doing sport? You know, this is the dream. It's like, why would I even be going there? If I was fearful, that only slows things down. I was convinced myself I was already going to the Olympics. That was it. There's nothing in my mind. I had to prepare for that, because otherwise, if I don't prepare for that and it happens, then what? I'm not going to be ready. You know. So that's why Olympic cycles are very important. If you're in the Olympic cycle, if the Olympics is your dream, if winning anything is your dream, why are you doubting? And if you're doubting, think why. Is it for you? We make things happen. And that's how it is. And unfortunately, the Olympics didn't happen. But who says that another door didn't open? We react on trauma, right? So my mum still don't speak about this. But I said, yeah, you got some people to interview about. Nah, she ain't speaking about it to this day. Everybody has their story about what happened. Doctors said I may never walk again. Doctors were wrong. And look where I am now.
So we've spoken earlier about you being a Luton boy, and you're very proud of those roots, aren't you?
Luton is where I was born, and I have very strong roots in Luton. To see people achieve, not just myself, but the people around me from Luton achieving, it's very inspiring. When you're from Luton, and you might get the same from where you're from.
I'm from Bootle, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a community thing,
Yeah.
and you're supporting, and everybody supports each other. Everybody supports each other and like to see people do well. Everybody has a choice. What you do today prepares for tomorrow.
Correct. You're very deep, aren't you? You're very deep as a person when you think about it.
Yeah, I am. And do you know what? Again, that's growth, because I wouldn't say that I was 10 years ago. You know, maybe I was. I was very much running on instinct 10 years ago. But as I grow older, reading books. There is one book that I did read, Think and Grow Rich. They talked about desire, which made me really reflect. It starts with a dream, but if you don't have desire, that dream won't happen. So once you have a dream, that will then turn into desire, and that then kind of stems everything. Once you have the desire, then you go to goal setting. And once you make them goals, you've got to put them into action. None of that matters if you don't have a support network.
Of course, yeah. And when you think about, your family background, that's really, really important to you, isn't it? Your brothers, your sister, it's
100%.
Your parents, your father led you down this path almost to karate and to martial arts where you actually are now.
Exactly. And if I was walking down the street or doing something I shouldn't have, then my uncle who lived down the road will come and say, "What are you doing?" My brother, I can't get away with nothing. Every summer I used to go to my nan and granddad's, and all my cousins used to be there. That kept me out of trouble. That kept, had the right people around me. I was in a loved environment. I would say that is my privilege. When we talk about privilege, that was my privilege. I had a loving family. I had good friends. I had good role models from aunties and uncles. When I look back at where I come from, that's why I am who I am. With the help of others.
Because it's not just about geography, is it? It's all about the elements that go with that, the people, the environment that you're brought up in, the happiness, And I'm assuming for you, in the main, it was really happy, and it was an encouraging environment. Yeah,
100%, very encouraging. Other from schools, I didn't have a good relationship with school. They didn't really kind of invest in me. They didn't pick up on my dyslexia. I didn't feel like they got who I was. There was a very strong message from the top, and that's from my nan and granddad. Nans and granddads, shall I say. From my mum, stepmom, dad, sisters, brothers. You're on the right path. You can do anything that you want to do. And that's what should be told to so many other people, that if you want to do it, go and get that. If it's the right thing for you, go and do it. Don't let money guide you. Money gets in the way, brings you stress. People strive for it, but my lifestyle is the most important thing. If I'm happy, then I can give you happiness. If I look after myself, then I can look after somebody else.
Despite all that positivity, there were a few negative moments when you were growing up. And there was one that I remember you telling me about, an accident when you were a kid. You were run over by a car. It could have killed you.
Could have killed me.
It could have left you paralyzed.
Yep.
Tell us about what happened in that scenario.
So I don't remember this, but I would say it's still, because we're people, we react on trauma, right? So my mum still don't speak about this. If I said, you got some people to interview about, nah, she ain't speaking about it to this day. Everybody has their story about what happened. I was left in the back garden when my mum was up. She was watching me, and what happened was my brother went out to see a friend. He was 7 years old at the time, or 8 years old at the time. So he opened the back gate of the garden, left that back gate open, and as a little brother, you follow your big brother.
Of course. Yeah.
You know? So he didn't know I was behind him. So when he crossed the road to see his friend, I then followed him and then the car came and hit me. It wasn't my brother's fault because that driver was drunk. It was a hit and run. So if he was sober, would he have saw me? My mum said, as soon as she heard screaming outside the front, she said she just knew.
Was that you screaming, or was that other people around
Other
you
people
screaming?
around. Other people were around. She said she heard screaming at the front, and she said mother's instinct, she just knew. So she ran out as fast as she can. You're not meant to move the body just in case, but she said she just wanted to get me to safety. So she moved me to the side of the road. Driven to hospital. Doctor said I may never walk again. But at 2 years old, you don't ever get told that, do you? Doctors were wrong. And look where I am now.
But it goes back to what you were saying before, that you didn't have this good relationship with school, they didn't really understand you.
Yeah.
And it seems as though even in this scenario, they didn't really understand your resilience. No. Even as a 2-year-old.
Exactly. Sport helped me to rehab. As a young kid, you recover quicker. I think sport helped me a lot with putting muscles in the right place and developing that. So getting into karate, playing football, helped me a lot to rehab my injuries.
Do you suffer any ill effects from that now?
So when I was younger, I remember having pains in my legs.
Okay.
I remember that. But they went when I was, I would say, teenager, and I haven't had any since. Touch wood.
Touch wood. But the thing is, though, to go from there to being an elite athlete, and not only an elite athlete, becoming somebody who's won gold, do you sometimes have to pinch yourself and say, it could have gone a totally different direction?
Yeah, 100%. If it could have went somewhere else, but it's very fine lines, very fine lines. I could go out today and get hit again, and my life could go left or right, There's no limits in what you can do. So if I do go into a chair tomorrow, what can I do? What can't I do? It's one of those, you have to put it into focus.
And growing up as a kid as well, and Luton, you, as an athlete, it doesn't matter what sport you turned your hand to, you could do it to a really good level. So you mentioned there, you always enjoyed football as well.
Always, yeah.
And football's been a big part of your life as well as the other.
I played for Luton schools, and then it came to an age when I was a teenager, Watford wanted me, Watford Academy, and my dad I remember him put down the phone and said, Jordan, you got to pick karate, football, and I'll pick karate.
What was your reasoning to pick karate instead of football? What was the
role models? My role models were in karate. My dad, Superman.
Yeah, of course.
So,
yeah.
I had my godfather, Mervyn Etienne, world champion, and I knew Wayne Otto, 9 times world champion, Molly Samuels, Leslie Fairclough, Mike Salzman. I remember all the stories being told to me, and I was like, I want one of those stories. And going back to, having that car crash and, how I coped with it and being world champion, I think what I'm trying to say is I'm just grateful for where I am right now. I've just got so much gratitude to what I'm doing and what life I'm leading. I'm just happy. I've created this, I've done this. I've got so much gratitude for what I have done and for who's around me and who's supporting me. I can't thank people enough. We was the first father and son to do that in the sport. It was a massive achievement and something that the sport had never seen. And because they got me right, okay, it's mine.
So you're making this transition to Taekwondo, and one of the things about you, I'm assuming, is that if you're going to put your mind to something, you've got to be able to reach the top, or at least try and your best to get to the top. And certainly in a karate sense, you did reach the top in winning the World Championship in 2016.
Sure.
For you, that must be an achievement of immense pride.
To be able to put my name up in there in history, along with all the stories that I've told you about, all the role models that I had, and just to say that I'm one of them, European and world champion, as a kid, that was a dream. I always said that I was going to be world champion.
I said it as well.
I always said that I was going to do it, and then I did it. And then it was almost like that kid who said that I was going to be world champion, I actually did that. Wow, that is actually me.
But when you reach that, do you have a sense of fulfillment that you did reach that? Or is it almost an out-of-body experience which just seems so surreal?
It's so surreal, but the fact that I worked on me. So I do a lot of neurofeedback, high-performance neurofeedback. They're not just neurofeedback scientists who connect me up, and we do a lot of focus drills and bring down meditation. They're mentors at the same time. It was almost that world champion. I was world champion before I won the world title. You know, I was speaking to people as a world champion. I was eating like a world champion. I was walking like a world champion. I was just doing everything like a world champion does. So it was just secondary when I got there.
But also as well, I'm assuming there's something in the genetics, because your dad did exactly the same thing before you.
Yeah, I think it was about 20 years. I think it was 20 years before me. He done the exact same thing. And we can say genetics, but we was the first father and son to do that in the sport.
I'll hang my coat up now, and exactly. You know, I don't know if I'm worthy at all to be in a Thomas's company.
Yeah, no, it's we was the first father and son.
That's incredible.
So yeah, it was a massive achievement and something that the sport had never seen. So we'd done that incredible one. It was with the help of Leslie Fairclough, Mervyn Etienne, and a massive support network around us. A big push. And because they got me right, that was just like, okay, it's mine. It's already mine.
One of the things as well that was so interesting about that story is your dad had won it. You replicated what he'd done, but he was also your coach.
Yeah, he was.
At that time.
Yeah. We got to walk out together. It was amazing.
All I can think about is just emotions and the exhilaration of that particular moment.
It's quite funny. I remember that final. We was in the final, right? And we're in the warm-up area, and I could see my dad getting kind of wound up, and he's like away. I'm doing all my warm-ups. I'm chilled. I'm laughing. I'm dancing. That's just me, right? I'm so chilled. It's unreal. Like, people panic when they see me, how comfortable I am, right? We went into the holding area, and it's like the holding area is just about before you go out onto the mat. I could see my dad pacing up and down like this. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, I'm not even going to play no mind to it. I'm just going to let him do what he wants to. And then he came up to me and was like, right, you got to effing do this, you got to effing do that. Are you effing ready? So he just went from coach, but then went into dad mode.
Oh, really?
Right? And I just had to look at him. Dad, I got this. I said to him, like, Dad, I got this. And he went, right. And then just walked away. Right, so he gave me my space. So then he went into coach. I was like, okay, he needs a space. He realized that he went into dad mode, and we've got a job to do. And with all the neurofeedback that I had done, I managed to get into the right zone. We walked out together. My dad was really kind of just saying words of encouragement when we was there. We kind of really knew what we had to do, and we just enjoyed it. Trying to look into his eyes. He's now seeing his son go on to win the biggest title on the planet at that time. Yeah. So he's actually got to experience twice. So lucky.
You're envious of him.
Yeah, I'm envious of him. It was a great experience.
Is it something that you both sit in a room and talk about and reminisce about? Because as you say, this is the first time in the sport of karate it's actually happened.
Yeah.
Do you ever just get into a corner of a room and just have a chat about it?
Yeah, do you know, we do chat about that, and we kind of just say that there was just nobody beating me. It was unstoppable, but I wasn't just unstoppable. He was too. He was in my corner. He was backing me 100%, just like he does every day. I remember like the second round, I just beat the ranked number 1 in the world, gapped him 8-0. I'm in the zone, so I've walked off, and I've seen him like kick a chair. Right, he kicked the chair. He's like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. We're ready. We're ready for anyone. You're here, right? So he's put a message out to all the other competitors.
Exactly.
But he's got my back. He's done that because he believes in me. Yeah, amazing experience.
But the exhilaration on that day for you two, to have that moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you go and win gold in France. I assume that is
It's history books.
That for you is going to be the best moment ever.
Do you know, it's something that I can tell my kids.
Yeah.
It's something that is in the timeline now. It's something that, you know, is going to be in the family tree. He's world champion. Like, you know.
So the next one's got to be world champion. If you don't produce a world champion,
Have I failed?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Have I failed as a parent?
Yeah, exactly. But you know, it is a family legacy and a half. It really is.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter, you know, what sport it may be. That is a family legacy and a half.
100%. 100%. It's a dream. It's a dream to most, and we've got to achieve it.
But going back to that moment, was there a lot of pressure on you to succeed in that moment? Because I'm trying to look at it from my perspective. What would I be like in Jordan Thomas's shoes, having my dad achieve this?
Do you know,
there's got to be a pressure on you, surely.
I had to want it for myself. That's where it started. I had to want it for myself. I remember growing up, you know, me and my dad had this running joke. You know, I was always Willie Thomas's son. But when I won that world champs, he became Jordan Thomas's dad. When I was growing up, it was always like, oh look, there's Willie's boy. You know, so I was always that, and I did feel the pressure of like performing because I had these people watching me. And actually, if I was not Willie's son, would they be watching me? Right?
Good shout. Yeah.
And then going international, and people already knowing who I am because of my name. Oh yeah, let's watch Willie's. You know, so I had to deal with that. But I was in the Elite Performance Academy from 16 to 18, surrounded by sprinters, bobslayers, golfers. And then 18 to 20, I was in a basketball academy, people with sporting dreams. The dream just became more realistic for me and actually put everything in perspective, what I actually needed to do. I wanted this. I wanted to go and do whatever it takes. And actually, it was just nice to bring the medal back to Luton, back to the family, you know, to inspire others, actually saying, you can do your job, you can do it. I've got a little cousin right now who plays for Tottenham Hotspurs, under 14, and he's Cameron, his name, Cameron Thomas, right? He is gonna be the next star, and I keep telling him, you can do it. I've got my cousin, Josh Denzel, who is doing his thing as a presenter. He's championing his environment. If we can give what we're doing to the next generation to inspire, for them to go and achieve their dreams and open up doors, we're doing something right.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for watching this episode of Origins. There are plenty more episodes on the way, so hit that subscribe button and you'll see the latest content that we provide here, right here on PabsMedia.
So we've effectively spoken about most of the big moments in your life, and as part of life, we always look ahead to the next thing. Now we've spoken about how you want to get to France and Paris 2024. Give us a bit of an insight as to what's next.
What's next is, I haven't told you yet, I've got a baby on the way.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you, nice one.
Amazing.
Nice one.
Amazing.
So yeah, I've got a baby on the way, coming in July.
Oh, fantastic.
I thought I'd save it for this interview.
You literally have surprised me with that. You didn't drop it. You could have dropped it in a DM or anything,
Could
but
have
you
done
kept
that.
it quiet.
Could have done that.
Well done.
So yeah, that comes in July. But going back to the Paris, what does the next 2 years look like? Keep developing, keep performing, and developing my Taekwondo IQ, and just to keep enjoying it. Because as long as I keep enjoying it, keep learning, and keep being competitive, results will come. And like I said to you, I chase performances. I don't chase medals, because the medals take care of itself, and the medals will come. I have dreams to be on the top.
You're anticipating that there's going to be some hard journeys
100%.
ahead, but without a doubt, your determination is going to pull you through.
Yeah, 100%. I like the challenge. I'm not going to lie to you. I like it. I put myself in some uncomfortable situations where I don't want to be. And sometimes I think, Jordan, what are you doing? What's going on? How did you even get here? But I just laugh to myself because I enjoy it. I like fighting, you know, in a controlled environment.
Of course, yeah. But you've had your first
Had my first
taste of competition.
And went really well. I lost 16-14. If I came back and I lost 20-0, I would say, yeah, okay, this ain't for me. If I came back and I didn't even try, or if I froze, I'd be like, okay, Jordan, like, you're 30 years old. You're obviously not hungry enough. So, but I came back, I lost 16-14. And in Taekwondo terms, that's a high scoring fight. I'm scoring points. I must be doing something right. I've been doing Taekwondo for 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and I've come out here and I've put it on to a Swiss international. So for me, it's like a win-win. Competing, getting fight experience is about 3 months worth of training. If I didn't go to that, even though there was potential that I couldn't have went there because I did have an injury, if I didn't go to it, I would have lost that kind of vital learning aspect.
The experience.
The experience.
Yeah.
So we made a decision, we're going to go out there with the injury. Once you step into the ring, it's war.
Is that feeling a very special feeling for you? Does it almost separate itself from everyday life and every factor?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You almost go into a different person. Well, I do anyways.
Because you're this cool, calm, considered guy, great sense of humour. But as soon as you hit the mat, that's it.
It doesn't matter what injury you have. It doesn't matter if you feel sick. You just got to make sure you go out and you do a job. Focus on the things that you can control and try and control the outcome. You know, get that outcome any way possible. At this moment in time, my Taekwondo IQ is not the highest. But what have I got? I've been fighting since the age of 4 years old. I have won world titles, European titles, so I've got an elite mindset. And if I can apply pressure in that way and find a way to press their buttons and upset their fight, that's something that's going to work in my favor.
And just finally, you've had so many moments in your career. We've spoken about the World Championship win in 2016. Is there another moment in your career somewhere that you turn around and say, I'll always remember that?
The Olympic qualification tournament, even though I didn't win, I performed. I was just on fire. I was still competing for Great Britain at the highest level. That was my last karate event, and I enjoyed every second of it, even though that last 2 seconds hit me. But when I reflect on that event, I just enjoyed competing. I enjoyed being the best. I enjoyed fighting the best. So, yeah, the Olympic qualification event, fighting for GBR, Jordan Thomas, and that's it actually. I like carrying my name.
Well, Jordan, thank you very much for being part of this episode of Origins. I've learnt an awful lot about you, and you and I have been speaking for the last couple of years as well.
Massively.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for being
good chat.
being a guest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.